night. From the booth to the final turn, every story waits to be learned. Zoomed in tight on the fight ahead, every pass, every word that's said. When the green flag starts to wave, we bring the race to life on stage. Grip the night, feel the story ignite. Every battle burning under broadcast lights. From the green to the checkered flag, we make the moments larger than life. Every call, every daring move, every driver's dream comes through. If you love the race beyond the wheel, Virtual Grip Network makes it real. Stock car shaking the virtual ground. Open wheel thunder, speed unbound. GT machines in the neon glow. Every corner's got a tale to show. Different leagues, one shape flame. Every broadcast part of the name. Eyes on track, mics turned on. We're there with you till the final lap's gone. Not just watching, we're in the run. Chasing the truth of every turn. Grip the night, feel the story ignite. Every battle burning under broadcast lights. From the green to the checkered flag, we make the moments larger than life. Every call, every day move, every driver's dream comes through. If you love the race beyond the wheel, Virtual Grip Network makes it real. It's more than laps and running lines. It's heartbeats caught between the times. From the first grid call to the final cheer, we turn the race into something you feel. Slow it down, then build it higher. Voices rise with the engine fire. Every replay, every stand-up fight, felt it together on race night. Every night, let the legends lead. Every underdog, every winning streak. From hometown heroes to the final glide, we hold on till the end of the fight. When the screen goes down, the echoes remain. Another chapter written in speed and fame. If you live for the more than the racing truth, Virtual Grip Network, that's you. Sign of faith, but the passion stays. Another race in the broadcast haze till the lights go green and the mics ignite. Virtual Grip Network grips the night.
Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to the Virtual Grip Network, and welcome back to the OBRL YesterYear Cup Series. This is race number 21 of the season, coming to you tonight from Indy. My name is Ron Mullins. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Brian McCrae. Ryan Seneker is our producer for tonight's broadcast. Before we get into tonight's coverage, we would like to thank the partners that keep this series going, starting off with YesterYear Racing, where the past meets the present. Top Flight Computers. Top Flight is celebrating a decade of zero failures. iRacing pushes PCs to the limit of their performance. PCs that are simply assembled aren't reliable enough to handle the load of iRacing over time. Top Flight Computers PCs are engineered to order and built to exact specs and rigorously tested so they are capable of true 99.999% reliability. Log on to bit.ly/topflightpc for more information. And also by Zero Shoes, the official shoe of this voice. From the track to the street, it's Zero Shoes. And by Kailu Glass, handmade bespoke memorials made in Kentucky. Memorial art that's personal and affordable, not mass-produced or overpriced. Check out KailuGlass.com for more. Brian, as we get towards the end of the regular season here in this championship, we're really upping the ante over the past couple of weeks in terms of challenging tracks, and the speeds are getting higher as well. 2 weeks ago, we were at New Hampshire, a bit small, very technical. That is a challenging short track. Then we headed off to Pocono 1 week ago, and now we're here at Indianapolis. My version of heaven on earth, one of the most challenging tracks both in the sim and in real life. And although this track is known around the world, it is still a bit of an unknown quantity whenever a driver hits the rubber to the road.
You said it, Ron, and I tell you what, man, this is one of those races where I sure wish I was behind the wheel rather than up here in the booth, because this is one of my all-time favorite car and track combinations. There's something about these stock cars, these Gen 4 stock cars, the high horsepower, the 200 miles an hour into the straightaways, with all that the weird aero that it has. The traffic is a huge component of the racing here, but it's a flat track, and so you're going into turn 1 and turn 3 at 200 miles an hour with no banking. So you got to be easy on the brakes, easy on the tires, and this is going to be a classic OBRL race with this type of track. It's going to be the racer who can manage their tires, who can stay up front and get the clean air, and who's fast enough at the very start to set the pace early, because this field's going to separate pretty quickly, Ron.
Yeah, it is going to be one of those races where the cream is going to rise to the top. We're going to see the top talent here in the championship try and stick their necks out to try and be the best. And speaking of being the best, you do want to take a quick little gander at the championship points here as we go throughout this regular season. We are getting towards the end. Here's how it stands right now. Dwayne MacArthur is at the top of the points right now. Matt Watkins is slotted there in P number 2. Eric Essery is in 3rd. Tom Ogle dropping down a couple of spots over the past couple of races. He's down there in 4th. Courtney Nelson in 5th. Kevin Strandberg is in 6th. You look through the likes of Brian Lynch in 7th. Roger Hurley is there in 8th. Andy Thomas in 9th. Greg McDaniel completing your top 10. But Brian, it's the back half of that page where the stories start to get very, very interesting. Figure out who's going to make the chase and who isn't.
They do, and man, you can make up a lot of ground or lose a lot of ground in these next couple of races by doing really well. And the drivers that are there from 13th on down to 18th, these are guys that are here every week. They're the elite drivers of the OBRL, and so really, these are the guys you're going to see mixing it up, and we've seen them mixing it up, every single week. And so it's the ones who could put together a couple of good, solid finishes are the ones going to be able to make the playoffs.
And so keep an eye to see who is going to make it, who is going to break it. It is a crucial 5 weeks here in this championship. Just taking a quick little gander as we get towards the end of qualifying right now. Drivers getting some good lap times on the board. Very competitive field here at what's going to be a very tricky race. One other thing that's going to throw a wrench in the works that we'll be talking about throughout the rest of tonight's coverage is the track temperatures. This is one of those tracks where they talk about every single time, whether it be the other ranks of NASCAR come around here, or especially during the month of May for the Indy 500, track conditions are incredibly important. You don't have a lot of banking to help you out through the turns. You've got to rely on that mechanical grip and the aero grip. And if you want to try and get both, you've got to keep an eye on that weather forecast to see whether you're going to have the stones and even have the ability to stick through it throughout this race. But speaking of, we're about to get a start here in a couple of moments' time. So how about we crack on and take a look at tonight's starting grid here for race number 21 of this season. That's going to be the Canadian Dwayne MacArthur starting this race from the pole position. Courtney Nielsen set to join on the second row, row 2, pardon me. It is Dave Matson starting this race in 3rd, next to Clay Walker there in 4th. Matt Watkins will be in 5th next to Bill Martin there in 6th. Roger Hurley will be in 7th, fittingly there in the number 77 car. Sean Foltz will start in 8th with Andrew Medlin and Jack Yeagerman completing our top 10. Brian?
And starting at 11, we got the 74 of Alan Wanamaker on his outside, the 81 of Chris Bates. Starting 13th, the number 1 of Greg McDaniel on his outside, the 69 of Ben Shepard. Starting P15, the 01 of Kevin Strandberg. Top shelf, the number 9 of Brian Lynch. Starting 17th, 37 of Eric Esser. Look for him to come through the field late in the race. Starting 18th, the 49 of Ken Allen. 19th, the 94 of Scott Negus. Rounding out your top 20, the 93 of Patrick Martindale.
And looking through the rest of the pack, starting in 21st is Tommy Amassi. He'll be next to Robert Garisco. Starting in 23rd will be Andy Thomas. Alongside him on your 12th row will be Torrance Childs. Tom Ogle will start this race in 25th next to Lon Corey, with Rick Nitz and Larry Corey running at your 28 driver set to grab the green flag. Do want to apologize to Courtney Nelson there in the number 3 machine. Got my tongue wrapped around my teeth about 17 times starting off on that starting grid. But either way, 28 drivers set to grab the green flag, and some EOLs at the start of this race. It'll be Tom Ogle and Rick Nitz starting at the back of the pack here once we grab the green flag. So some storylines that we'll definitely touch on throughout this race here, Brian, but Chief among which, getting back to the weather, good representative number, 111 degrees for the track temperature. Meanwhile, it's only 80 for the ambient temperature. Quite toasty here today.
It is. We got some cloud cover, so hopefully it's not going to be blistering hot, but still anything over 100-degree track temperature, it makes it even more difficult on the tires, makes the track slip more slick, and it makes this track even more line sensitive than it usually is. There's usually only one really fast way around this track, and it's usually hugging that white line, and that becomes even narrower and narrower and narrow as the track gets hotter.
You know, it's going to be a tough ride for sure. And when you think about those scorching hot track temperatures, you got to consider how much grip you're going to lose and how much tire you're going to lose here as well. I know that tire wear and tire issues in association with stock cars running around the Brickyard is almost like a race fan's version of the boogeyman. I feel like tire issues in Indy, just that goes together like peanut butter and cyanide. But we're going to have to worry about the tires for a 3rd week in a row. We had to worry about it at New Hampshire. We had to worry about it at Pocono, and we're definitely going to have to worry about it here at Indy. This is a very porous track surface.
It is, and it's so fast. You're so fast going into the corner. If you're too fast going in, you're going to push. And if you're pushing, that means you're just shredding that right front. So you've got to be really easy on that throttle and really easy going into those turns.
Yeah, so handling these cars with kit gloves is maybe going to be in order for this 21st race of the season. Going to be competitive, going to be a test of these drivers. I'll tell you what, and this is honest, the chances of one of these drivers leaving this race and not having some form of migraine from having to think about so many things while behind the wheel is very, very unlikely. But let's see what things are going to have in store here at Indianapolis at the Brickyard, waiting for that green flag to come out here in Indy, which it does now. And the drivers are on their way as the field hurdles down into turn number 1. Pretty good start there from MacArthur's trouble behind.
It's like Medlin and Martin got together. I think Medlin kept it going, and Martin somehow managed to get that thing going straight again. But we're going to stay green here.
And take a quick look at the replay. There you can see that 12 hop, skip, and a jump through the infield grass on the inside turn number 1. Very lucky to get away with that. There is no room to run or hide here at Indy. As there you can see that car. That is not the ideal line, and you cannot park there either. But a good start up at the front for MacArthur. Not able to pull away. Nelson tucked into the slipstream as they headed their way down the backstretch up into the north end through 3 and 4. Nelson looking to try and get a move done here very, very soon before MacArthur looks to run away. In the meantime, we still have some battling throughout the pack. That was 2x2 racing there right towards the tail end of your top 10 at the end of the first lap.
Yeah, Nelson and Mark MacArthur are teammates. They might be just kind of pace setting right here. Fuel mileage is right at probably 25 to 30 laps. I don't think you can go full 42. I don't think that you'd want to, but you might be managing tires here. I can't imagine Courtney's going to be pressing Dwayne too hard. I might be wrong, but these two might be setting the pace and trying to set their rhythm to be able to get this manage their tire sequencing. So we've got Sean Foltz and Eric Essery going side by side there. Essery started pretty deep in the field today, Ron. I don't know if he's qualified poorly or maybe he didn't qualify at all, but he's going to crawl through, and we're going to be watching him kind of pick them off one at a time through the whole race.
All right, making his way up 9 spots at the start of this race, so cutting his way through like a hot knife through butter, as we do have pit stops going on right now. That right there is Sean Foltz coming into the pits there in the number 59 car. So early call to come down pit lane. I believe this is for some sort of penalty. Yes, it is. So a black flag for Sean Foltz at the moment. That is going to gut his race before it even really got underway. One driver, though, did not have a good start because he did not take the start, that being Leroy Corey, who's currently marked in 28th right now, having not made a practice time, not made a qualifying time, and did not take the start. However, they've still got some good racing out there on the racetrack. Drivers going side by side. They're trying to get these moves done before the tires just croak over.
That's right. The field's going to separate pretty rapidly here. The times, qualifying times, were pretty spread apart. So if you can't get these passes done in the first, say, 5 laps before the tires go away, before the field starts to spread out, you really just need to kind of settle in and take care of your tires and let the pace of the race flow.
Yeah, try and lock in at the current moment. You don't want to have some major incidents towards the start of this race really affect the groove that you can find yourself in, because this is one of those tracks where the mental focus is huge. We've talked about it over the past couple of weeks, and it's a point that I like to raise during the broadcast, kind of the sports psychology side of it all. This is coming from somebody who's not a psychology student. I don't think any college would accept me, apart from a clown college where I'd probably get in on a scholarship, but that's neither here nor there. But I always like focusing on the psychology of these drivers, what's going through their head while they're out there on the racetrack. I remember back in my karting days, right before the final race of the season, racing against my buddy for a championship, and all I did at that event is I grabbed him by the shoulders before we got into the karts, and I just shook him. Just like wrung him out like a towel, and I was able to get into his head a lot throughout that day. He only got me right at the very end of the day. So those small little things, you can play them here at this race, but more often than not at Indianapolis, it's a matter of the track playing the mental games against you instead of you playing it against your competitors.
That's right, Ron. And in this race, especially as the race starts to spread out a little bit, you're racing the track. And you're trying to set a rhythm. You're trying to hit your marks, and that's like we were talking about earlier about how the car tends to push with so much power and so much horsepower into the turns. And so you've got to be methodical as you're clicking off these laps to save your tires. You see a lot of these guys running side by side. We're coming up on lap 6 right now, so that's 5. There's 5 laps of green flag racing on these tires already. You're really going to want to start getting to the bottom because the top is just going to wear those tires out. And so part of that psychology is, okay, I need to get in. I need to be able to find a place to race on the track so that I can set my rhythm and get consistent and start racing the track instead of the car next to me. Because if I'm racing the car next to me, I'm just wearing my tires out even faster.
As we're hearing that Larry Corey is out of this race because of PC issues, unfortunate there. That's one of the things with iRacing, though. You have mechanical failures that take you out of a race in real life. Hey, in the sim, you have technical issues like that can take you out of these races here. But to the point that you raised, talking about just trying to find your comfort zone out there on the racetrack, is a fantastic point that you raised, and it's certainly something that's popping into these drivers' heads as we go throughout here as well. One little point that I do want to raise, kind of pass this off with a bit of a question. How different do you think this race is going to be to tackle running on this older surface here? Because this is the old scan of Indianapolis.
It is. It's bumpier, and it's even more line sensitive than the new version. And I think it's just going to make the tires wear out faster. The car's not going to handle as well. Maybe not quite the amount of the top speed. So just kind of generally speaking, it's just going to be a rougher race on the car, rougher race on the tires. And it's just going to be one more thing these drivers have to think about for another 77 laps.
Yeah, so it's just one more element thrown towards these drivers that is going to keep them on their toes throughout these 85 laps that we're running here today. Already at the start of lap 8, MacArthur is still your leader. However, up in the top half of your field, up in that top pack, nobody's really been able to get away from each other. Yes, your top four have broken away. They're pretty much on Gilligan's Island at the current moment. However, Nelson not allowing MacArthur really to drive away. He's not attacking him every single lap. However, what we're seeing here from Courtney Nelson there in that number 3 machine, just keeping that 83 at an arm's distance, that's really what you have to do at this point. You don't go for the jugular out there on the road. You just always keep them in your sights.
Well, they're teammates, and so they're probably working together right now, trying to set a pace. And Courtney's playing defense right now just as much as anything else. I guarantee you he's not pressing Dwayne at all. They're just riding, trying to get through this first run, trying to feel out their tires. And the first run on a green racetrack is you burn a lot more tire on this first run. And so I kind of like to get this first run out of the way so the track can rubber in. And then when you go out on from your first pit stop, you've got a better sense of what the car is going to do over the course of a run, and you can go a little bit harder. So right now, Dwayne and Courtney, they're just building their database. They're trying to understand how the car is going to react after 10, 20, 30 laps. They're not really racing each other right now.
Yeah, but still working good up in your top 2 spots, keeping each other close and trying to pull away from that pack of Dave Mattson in the 09 machine and Matt Watkins directly behind them there in 4th. Talking about the track usage here at the current moment, starting off with a rather green racetrack. It's not, completely devoid of rubber, but we're definitely going to see the racing line form as we go through this race. That is a certainty. As we look a little bit farther behind here right now, looking at a nice little fight breaking out right outside of your top 10. This is the battle right now for 17th, though. It is actually the fight for about 17th here on the road. Martin right there up in front, holding on to 16th and desperately clinging on to that spot as we're side by side, heading our way off through turn number 1. That's the 11 Sunny D machine there on the inside, trying to make something work on that 94. 2 drivers have had their fair share of interesting luck over the past couple of weeks, so to say.
Yeah, they're both due for some good finishes, and Oval started in the back, so he's actually moving up pretty methodically right now. I would expect to see him up towards the front as the race progresses, provided he can get through clean. But he's a driver who excels at these kind of tracks and certainly excels at playing the tire wear game. He just got to be able to get through the field clean and be able to battle the leaders. This is a hornet's nest back here. These guys, you're 11 laps in right now, and these guys have been racing side by side since the race started. Ooh, we got Mattson pushing Nelson hard for second place. Now that's actually really smart on Dave's part, because right now Courtney and Dwayne are setting the pace of the race, and so if I'm Mattson and Watkins, I'm trying to disrupt them because I don't want them. I'm trying to disrupt their rhythm. I'm trying to disrupt them from being able to kind of establish what the race pace is. So if you can get up in there and kind of move Courtney around a little bit, maybe you make him push his stuff a little bit harder, and you get a little bit more of a chance to insert your will on the race.
Divide and conquer, essentially, is the tactic here for the 09 of Dave Mattson, trying to get past that 3, break up that dynamic duo up at the front, and see whether or not the 20 of Watkins could maybe get a move done here soon as well. They're certainly going for the jugular last time around. Mattson and Nelson nearly came to blows as they headed their way through turn number 1. They were dancing with the devil at the start of that last lap. This time around, though, here at the start of lap 12, they've settled it down just a little bit. I will say, though, as a big sideways snap from Nelson, able to hold on to it heading through turn number 2. However, Mattson going to chew him up and spit him out here as they're side by side, heading down the back straightaway into turn number 3 through the north end. Will it be a dive from Mattson to jump up into P2? Not close enough. Nelson going to slam that door shut right in his face. We're just going to race this here, Brian. Look a little bit farther in the back. These 4 drivers may not be alone for long.
That's right. You've got Clay Walker and Roger Hurley coming up behind him, and Greg McDaniel. I almost said something when we were talking about the starting lineup. McDaniel's another guy who you would expect to see there at the end of the race. So these guys are starting to work together, and like we talked about earlier, now that the field's spread out, they can start establishing a little bit of a rhythm, start racing the track, and start clicking off laps. And if you're nose to tail, you can go a whole lot faster than if you're racing side by side.
And as at the moment, I don't think these drivers up at the front are fully taking advantage of what they could do. They were going single file for quite a while, but I think that patience has finally snapped. one of the cars I've covered a whole lot here on iRacing is some of the more drafty road course cars, the likes of the Formula V and the Spec Racer Fords. And in a lot of the races with those cars, you've got to hold a really tight ship when you try and get the moves done. You can't go side by side for a while because those cars so reliant on the draft, so reliant on keeping the momentum rolling, that if you go side by side, you're just going to ruin both your race and the driver that you're going side by side with. You're going to lose sight of everybody and start sinking down like an anvil pushed out of a helicopter. Now, these cars do have power. I think probably the fans they have blowing in these drivers' faces have more power than an average Formula V does. However, around a track like this, going side by side is that is truly dancing with the devil. So these drivers, if they do go side by side, you got to get the move done very quick, or you got to back out of it very quickly as well.
Well, we saw that whenever Quentin Nelson got loose coming off of turn 2. It's a helpless feeling when you get loose come off the corner like that, because you know that the car behind you has a run. But he made the top line work and probably used up a little bit of tire, but he sent it in there and made it stick. And he made a decision there that he wanted to hold that position, and used up a little bit of extra race car to do it. But it's a risk, and it's a risk every time you do it. But that's part of the chess match that you have to play here. And for Dwayne and Courtney, being able to stay linked up like this and control the field is really important. It's one of the strongest ways to basically preserve your track position and be able to control the outcome of a race. And so I applaud Courtney there for doing what he needed to do to hold that spot, despite the fact that he got loose coming off the corner.
So as we continue to go through the motions of this race, 15 laps into the 85-lap long race that we have in store for you all here tonight. I want to thank you all once more for tuning into the action. One point I do want to raise, though, again, talking about the evolution of this track, despite the fact these drivers are still leaning on it and leaning on it rather hard, track temperature is actually starting to sink down. We got a little bit of cloud cover at the moment. The ambient temperature is sinking down. Currently 109 degrees Fahrenheit for that track temp, and as we go throughout this race, we've passed 2:05 in the afternoon in sim time, so we are potentially going to see the real prospect of this track being probably in its best shape right at the very end, right as these drivers are at their worst.
That's correct, and it's where you'll see that the most is coming off of the corner. You've got so much horsepower in these cars, and you have to be really delicate on the throttle getting out of the corner because this racetrack is flat. But if the racetrack's cooler and once it rubbers in a little bit, it's going to stick a little bit better. So you're going to see some cars getting better runs coming off the corner, and it's a whole lot of fun to race that way.
It's certainly action-packed that we've got out there on the racetrack right now. Everybody, though, settling into a groove, relaxing, having a good time here at the moment at Indianapolis, a track that I first got the opportunity to visit about a decade ago now. I was a very young kid. I was 11 at the time, and got the opportunity to kiss the bricks, visit the museum, and be a smartass in the other tour guide there that they did around the track, which I guess some things change and others stay the same, I suppose. But this track, I could go on and on and on about the history around this, some of the stories to come out of here as well. The other one story that does always, I wouldn't say irk me, but just kind of, I don't know, just stuck in my craw a bit, is the story that Dale Jarrett, when he won the Brickyard 400 back in 1996, that he invented kissing the bricks. That was actually Scott Brayton who had done that earlier that year after getting his second back-to-back pole at the Indy 500 earlier that May. Unfortunately, was killed in an accident during a later practice session. Didn't get to start that race. A young Tony Stewart ended up grabbing the pole for that event. But now we've got a little battle here. That's Ogle looking to get some moves done there after starting at the back of the pack, shotgun the field. He's cut his way through and is getting done here once more. That was Garisco going up into the fence a little bit there as he headed his way out of turn number 2. A very easy mistake to make, but a costly one nonetheless. Going to lose out on that spot to the 11.
Yeah, Ogle's got a good run going. He kind of kissed the wall there a little bit coming off turn 3, but he's been steadily moving through the field. And the trick here when you're starting in the back like this is you just have to be patient. The track's going to come to you. The cars are going to come back to you. You just have to keep running your race and not lose sight and not try to get over aggressive like that. He's going to need a caution, though, at some point to bring this field closer together, because at this point he's a good 10, 15 seconds behind the leaders. But at least he's cutting his way through the field and making some good progress there.
Yeah, making some quite good progress here at the current moment. As Brian, one of the points I do want to raise here as we get through to close to the 20 lap mark here in this event, rapidly closing up on the first quarter of this race being completed. There's 5 tire sets allotted to these drivers. They, of course, won't come into the pits to use all of them, but it gives them some options in terms of what to do throughout this race when it comes to tires. Are we getting to the point where we may see some green flag pit stops coming up soon?
We are. I think the pit window is going to be between 25 and 30 laps. I don't think you can make it on one stop. It's kind of close. I mean, maybe one or two drivers might try it, but man, 1 lap is 2 miles here. So if you're even 1 lap shy, you're just not going to be able to do it. So I'm thinking in between laps 25 and lap 30, you're going to get 4 tires for certain. Fill that thing up and try to just get back out there. And now that you've learned how the car behaves on that first run, the track's cooled down a little bit, rubbered in a little bit, the field's a little bit more spread apart. You can kind of go to work and start laying down some laps.
Yeah, I do like the fact that these drivers don't have to worry about tires. As somebody who's covered a whole lot of racing with NASCAR O'Reilly's machinery, where the tire sets are quite limited, and it does create a different dynamic in those races for sure, but one that I will confess sometimes I do like seeing the drivers just have the benefit of being able to lean on it as hard as they want. Within reason, though, as Garisco proven that point once again and got up into the fence as he headed his way through turn number 4. The handling really starting to fall away in that number 28 machine. At this point, I think he's just looking to hang on. If anybody is going to maybe eyeball a early green flag stop, it could be him.
Definitely, this is what you'll see. We've talked about this before. If you abuse the tires early in the run, the drivers in the OBRL will make you pay, because just about everybody here is really, really good at saving tires and managing them. So you don't want to be the one who is, use your stuff up early, because you're going to get just passed like you're standing still. But you're only 4 laps out from the early pit window. So if you can hold it together, you won't lose too much here.
Yeah, just try and hang on for dear life and hope that you don't crash. That's pretty much just the strategy at the moment. A little bit of prayer and a little bit of white knuckling there in the process. That's something you've got to do here at Indianapolis. I know I've had my fair share of moments around this place where I've been white knuckling the wheel, even just driving to actually get there in the first place on some of the racing adventures I did back in the karting days. Really putting the car in carpal tunnel, but I digress. We do have this little train of cars that we've got on screen right now. This is where the racing's getting good. These drivers trying to squabble up at the moment, apply some pressure onto each other. How difficult is it to try and just keep with it here in one of these races when you find yourself in a hornet's nest like this?
Well, it's really about maintaining your rhythm and maintaining your momentum and waiting for the other driver to make a mistake. The draft, you very much have a draft effect here. So these cars are drafting off each other down the straightaways, but you really need someone to make a mistake, either too fast going into the corner or maybe getting loose off the corner. And that's when you want to be close enough to that car to be able to take advantage and make a pass. But it requires some patience, because you really, especially at this point in the tire run, you cannot push the car anymore. So you're really driving the racetrack and maintaining your momentum more than anything else. So if you're patient and you can stay close, like Shepard staying close to Strandberg here, if Strandberg makes a mistake, you can better believe that Shepard's going to be able to take advantage of it. But other than that, you're staying nose to tail, taking advantage of the draft, and kind of easing through the rest of this tire run.
Yeah, at this point, you gotta just listen to the Bee Gees song. You gotta stay alive here. You can't do anything else. There's not a lot of pushing that you can do in a situation when your tires are worn down, not even to the canvas, basically down to the wheel at this point. Just hang on, stay with it, and try not to blow a tire in the process. And to those wondering, yes, you can blow a tire on iRacing. It won't result in you spinning out, but will give you an iRacing meatball flag, which will force you to come down pit lane to try and put some new rubber on that car. Otherwise, you will be done for. So keep an eye on that as we go throughout this race. As we continue to follow this battle, as it maybe heats up here very, very soon, I do want to talk about the battle up at the front that is cooling off just a bit. Dwayne MacArthur has been able to pull a three-quarters of a second gap between he and Nelson. So things are just spreading out a little bit here at the current moment at Indianapolis, although there is our fair share of side-by-side battling. Here's one of note is a 69 trying to get a move done here on the inside. That's battling for the first spot outside of the top 10. That's Shepard and Strandberg, and Shepard able to get that move done. Nice stuff side-by-side down the front stretch.
You have a decision to make right here. I mean, these cars, like I said, they're not handling very well right now because they're near the end of the tire run. And so do you kind of back out a little bit and get this first round of pit stops done? Or do you push and try to get this extra position, try to make up another spot before you hit pit road? It's a decision. There's definitely not a wrong decision here, but you definitely have to think about that, about pressing too hard, right before you're about to duck into the pits. But right now, what you're seeing is all these cars, they're all in different places in terms of how they've managed their tires. So some are moving forward, some are moving backwards, some have used up their tires, some haven't. And so this is the part of the tire run where you get back here mid-pack. I mean, you do tend to mix it up a little bit, and that's exactly what we're seeing right here.
Yeah, going back to that mental discussion as to whether you want to push, whether you want to take it easy right now. If it were me, although I do have the mentality of an 85-year-old man along with the joint pain to go with, I would probably take it easy if it were me. There's not a lot to gain at the moment. If it were me, I would just, try and settle down and get to the pit lane, as these drivers certainly not yielding my advice. Hey, they're the drivers. I'm just the loudmouth here in the broadcast booth. So I guess it's fair not to take my advice, but they're still definitely scrapping it up right now, as that was really close, heading their way onto the start-finish stretch out of turn number 4. Strandberg there on the inside in the 01 machine. Really wiggly as he headed his way out of there, about as, wiggly as putting on top of a washing machine. It was really tense as they headed their way through that section. And they're not alone in this, so I guess most of the field saying, you know what, Ron, you want to take it easy? We're not.
I'm with you though, Ron. I'm going to back out a little bit here. If I'm in this pack right now and I'm going to pit the next 2 laps, I'm probably going to back out, get towards the drop back a couple of spots, because you're getting on and off pit road, as we've talked about all season, is so important. Looks like we've got some calls on the radio, some folks coming into pits this time. But this pit in and pit out is crucial, especially under green flag conditions. You can make up or lose a ton of positions getting it right or getting it wrong. And this particular pit entry at Indy is exactly that. There's a lot of opportunities to make mistakes, but a lot of opportunities to gain spots.
Yeah, that there certainly is. As pit stops aplenty here at the moment. Drivers breaking away, coming down pit lane, taking the high road and coming into the pits as early as they realistically could. Now on pit watch to see one of these drivers up at the top of the field may decide to come down pit lane. The gaps have definitely grown. They have shifted here up at the front. We saw that 4-car battle. It was Dwayne MacArthur, Courtney Nelson, Dave Matson, and Matt Watkins that were all right on top of each other. And things have definitely shifted here, as we do have Dave Matson breaking away and coming down pit lane. This will be fascinating for him, along with MacArthur. So 2 of our original top 4 breaking away to come down pit lane, split down the middle. Got to see how things are going to work out for the drivers that stayed out. Courtney Nelson going to be on an island of his own. Matt Watkins about 1.2 seconds back. Slight complication of matters. They're going to have to worry about some cars exiting out of the pits, so this could get dicey for them.
Yeah, this exchange is going to be interesting to see, because I'm wondering if Courtney might have decided to wait another lap to see if he could jump Dwayne and get the track position. because these two, they have proven to be the class of the field. They're obviously, not very far apart on speed, and so they're not going to race each other too hard early in the race. And so one of the ways to make up that track position is to do it on pit sequences. But Courtney's going to need to pit here pretty soon because he's going to lose some track position because these guys are coming out here on new tires, and the tire fall up here is massive. Looks like Nelson's coming in this lap, so he's going to be one lap behind him.
Yeah, so Nelson coming into the pits, Watkins staying out for one more lap, so the lead changes once again. But this is going to be interesting to see what Nelson is going to do down here on pit lane, how it's all going to shake out here. This will be very intriguing. Dwayne MacArthur heading his way down the backstretch into turn number 3 right now. Definitely keeping very interested eyes on this to see whether this strategy could work out, whether the overcut or the undercut is the strategy of note. We'll just have to find out. Certainly the lap traffic playing a big factor here in this fight, as we're still looking to see Courtney Nelson is rolling down out of pit lane right now. Still has a long way left to go until he can finally rejoin the racetrack, but Dwayne MacArthur gonna waste no time at all, gonna clear, heading off through turns number 1 and 2 through the south end of the racetrack. MacArthur back up in front, but I do want to commend the driver, the number 3 of Nelson, for at least trying something different, try and experiment a little bit with a strategy. Yes, they are teammates, however, it's still intriguing just to see these drivers think, okay, I'll just try something a little bit off kilter, see whether this will work or not.
I tell you, who's doing something off kilter is Matt Watkins. And this is a dangerous thing. And none of the drivers want to see this. Is Matt Watkins leading a race, first of all, because he's so good once he gets up front. But he does not look like he is in a big, huge rush to come on pit road. And right now, he's going to have, by the time he pits, he's going to have at least 4 to 5 lap fresher tires than everybody else in the field. And he might lose some track position on this pit exchange, but I guarantee you he'll be there at the end of the second tire run.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit of pain right now for a gain later on. We'll just have to find out. But after 31 laps, potentially running on fumes, Matt Watkins finally peels off and makes the call to come down pit lane. This would give the race lead to Alan Wanamaker. It will, in fact, give the race lead to Wanamaker. He stays out for one more lap. Kenny Allen in trouble as he headed his way around the racetrack. Just had a odd incident there. He is still struggling out there on the racetrack. Nearly looped it a couple of moments ago as he headed his way through turn number 2. But either way you slice it, Wanamaker going to shuffle out. Actually, hold on to that top spot. Watkins going to be intriguing to see where he exits out of the pits. Up on the jack, still now rolling down pit lane. Where will he be? He's going to certainly be behind the 3 and the 83. Who else is he going to be behind? I think that may have been a slightly longer stop for him.
Yeah, that's a tough break right there, and that may be just a sequence of the new tires and that track position, but that's a lot of track position lost on that exchange. And he spent a second and a half longer on pit road, so I don't know if he slid through his box or something happened there, but he had a longer stop than everyone too, so that's going to cost him a good probably 10 to 15 spots. But if there's anybody who can make it up, it's this man right here. Wanamaker's spinning.
He's coming into the pit lane once. Here's the 74 of Wanamaker. So finally breaking away and coming down pit lane. I looked into it because I was curious. Matt Watkins did overshoot his pit stall just a little bit. It was nothing major. He didn't have to back up for 1,000 years, but that small little mistake is going to make a huge difference here at Indy. Talking about how treacherous the pit lane is here at Indianapolis, it's known as being one of the most brutal ones in modern motorsports. It is incredibly narrow, not very forgiving, and you're going from that porous asphalt onto pretty smooth concrete, which can be a little bit hard to hit your marks on. So I have to say, of this entire calendar that we have this season, potentially one of the hardest pit lanes to nail.
And the pit exit is really challenging here. It's almost like it's off camber. And it's really easy to send it off track or to get to miss the pit exit altogether. So you got to be really careful both getting on and getting off pit road. But to your earlier point, man, it's the worst feeling in the world when you slide through your box like that, especially under green flag conditions, because you know you're probably one of the only drivers that did it. And even if it was just a couple inches, it's another second or so before it's going to cost you on the pit cycle, and you just pay the price. It's a very helpless feeling.
Yeah, it stings whenever you do have that. This pit exit here is absolutely brutal. It's dusty as you head your way around that racetrack as well. The 20 of Watkins still struggling that time, though. It's on the road, heading his way all through turn number 2. Got a huge sideways snap as he headed his way out of there. Turn number 2, I will go out on a limb and say that it is the most treacherous turn, at least from my own experience, running here at Indy. It is brutal as you head your way through there. Depending on the direction of the wind, you're either going to have catastrophic understeer heading through the entirety of the turn or catastrophic oversteer on exit. 2 and 3 are the turns that always get me. It's the east end of the racetrack at Indy that is absolutely brutal. The west side, not too bad as far as I'm concerned. It's always 2 and 3, whether in the sim or real life, that prove to be the trouble spots.
Yeah, for me, turn 2, it's the visual perspective. I always had difficulty with the visual perspective, which means that hurts with line consistency. So that's definitely one of the more challenging turns on all the schedules that we run here. And Watkins, we're seeing that right now. And the trouble that Watkins is having is he's fast. He's clearly one of the fastest cars on the track. But losing that track position means he's got to battle. MacArthur and Nelson, they're back to running up front, back to running in clean air. They can click off the laps at their rhythm. But Watkins can't do that. He's got to race these guys hard, got to run side by side. You saw him get loose. He's used up a little bit more tire. So not only did he lose out on that pit sequence, he's having to push his stuff harder to try to make up that track position.
Yeah, so this is tricky at the moment for the 20. It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of situation right now here for the 20. You're either not going to attack it, in which you're going to find yourself back in the malaise of this pack that you find yourself in at the current moment, or you're going to attack, and in the process of that, you're going to wear out your tires. So it's just going to be a double-edged sword either way here for the 20. Unfortunate situation for him to find himself in right now. Trying to get a move done, though. Heading down into turn number 3. That's himself and Jagerman. Going to get that move done on entry through the turn. However, got a little bit high as he headed his way through that section. Still going to make up that spot. P9 now for Matt Watkins. Up at the front, Dwayne MacArthur is still your top runner. Nelson is in second with McDaniel now running out your podium here in third. This has been a somewhat under the radar race at the moment here for Greg McDaniel. Started the race in 13th, been able to make up 10 spots since the drop of the green. In terms of pace, it's been a little bit odd for him. He was the 22nd fastest car in that hour-long practice session before we got things up and rolling here on VGN tonight. As I just said, qualified in P13. But since then, he has put his nose to the grindstone and put together a very good result right now in that #1 Cartoon Network car.
Yeah, he's an OBRL veteran, and as I said earlier in the broadcast, he was one of the guys that kind of had circled on my calendar. As even though he started back 13th, I would definitely expected him to move through the field. I mean, he's a guy who usually you'll find him like this. He's mid-pack, and then lo and behold, when there's 20 laps to go, he's one of the guys battling for the win at the end. But Greg's been around a long time. He's probably put a lot of laps in this track, so he knows exactly what to do to get this car to perform.
So an interesting little note to raise here at the current moment. Once again, talking about the track temperatures as they have continued to change. They're actually flatlining at the current moment at about 109 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, my usual metric for judging how hot a track is how comfortable you would be walking around the track barefoot. At the moment, probably wouldn't be very uncomfortable, just for the simple sake that you've got 28 cars ripping it around the track right now, and an impact with a race car heading down to turn number 1 at Indy at 200 miles an hour does not sound like a good way for me to spend a Sunday night, but that's just me. However, I think at the moment, would you say this is probably the best it's going to get unless we do find ourselves with the yellow a little bit later on? I don't really see the track temperature sinking down too far from where we're at right now.
It looks that way, and you're seeing the cars seem to be sticking a little bit better. We're not seeing as many cars get loose off the corner as we would typically see on a hotter track. So the drivers are definitely enjoying this cloud cover.
They certainly are. I was just going to note here as well, the ambient temperatures have gone down another degree to 78 Fahrenheit. So we are also seeing the ambient temperature sink down the process. That's probably helping these track temperatures stay within that same sort of bracket.
Shepard and Jagerman really going at it there. It's a good battle. It's a good time to do it. You got relatively good tires, field's relatively bunched up. So if you're going to go racing each other, this is definitely the time to do it. So that little mix up going side by side with Jagerman kind of cost Shepard there. You can see Bates as able to close up, and so was the 12 and the 93. So you got to time your runs, and as you said earlier, if you set the pass up, you better make it because if you don't, you're going to lose the momentum and get caught by the car behind you.
Yeah, no, losing out on momentum here is just about as brutal of an escapade as you can imagine it is. It is real unfortunate. So, again, these drivers just trying to keep the tempo up. I think describing one of these races here, Brian, I think it could probably best be compared to riding a bike. You just need to keep that momentum rolling. Otherwise, you're going to fall off and crash.
Well, it becomes even more of a momentum track as the tires continue to wear. And you're getting on the brakes earlier. You're letting the car roll a little bit more to the center. You're a lot easier on the gas. And so in order to maintain speed, you have to keep the momentum in the car. So any kind of sudden movements, too hard on the brakes or too much wheel movements, certainly getting loose off, and you break that momentum, and that's how you lose track position. And we've seen it happen a couple of times here today. But this track is so fast. You have so much top speed. The draft effect is so important that you just have to maintain that momentum, especially coming off of the board.
Yeah, so keeping that momentum rocking and rolling here at the moment as side by side heading our way through turn number 3. That's a Showman, the 11, trying to get the move done here, showing a wheel or 2 or 3 or 4 down the inside and getting the move done on Medlin, heading off through the turn. That 11 has been on the charge throughout this race, and after starting towards the back and being sent to the tail end of the field before we grabbed that green flag, it's been a fantastic recovery drive for Tom Ogle, now jumping his way up into lucky spot P13. The key around a track like this is not a matter of sheer pace, it's a matter of consistent pace.
That's exactly right, especially in this particular race, which has got a long green flag, potentially even a full green flag run to it. Pace is about consistency, and it's about clicking off laps, maintaining your lap times, and maintaining momentum, not getting loose off the corner, not running into the wall, and just being able to maintain that same kind of consistent lap time. And that also helps you as a driver get into a rhythm. Indy has always been very much a rhythm track to me because it's so line sensitive, and the corners are pretty similar. And so if you can get yourself into this mindset, get yourself into kind of a metronome so that you're always clicking off the corner the same way, Indy rewards you for that. Meanwhile, Did you see Nelson's close MacArthur down? Nelson was 2 seconds back. He was at least 2 seconds off of that pit sequence. But he's closed down. He's got MacArthur up to 0.3 of a second. So their back goes to tail, and 2.6 seconds back from Greg McDaniel. So checking out on the field here.
Yeah, he has made some pretty good time up here in that 3 machine. Now, talking about the fact that these two are teammates, are we going to see them really duke it out at the moment? That's the question that we've got on our hands right now. Thinking about the situation that many of these drivers find themselves in heading off into this race as we draw ever closer to the end of the regular season, MacArthur finds himself in the championship points lead. So there's not a lot really to lose here at the moment. It is tight up towards the top of the points, but I feel like there's maybe more to gain if Nelson were to get the victory here. So I wonder whether or not MacArthur may decide to play ball here in the second half of this race.
Oh, I guarantee you MacArthur's going to do everything he can to stay up front. He's both of these drivers, they like to win. They'll do anything it takes, to get there, and are not ones to kind of lay over like that. But right now, it's still pretty early. We're just now approaching halfway. And so these two are still controlling the pace of the race. They're clearly the 2 fastest cars in the field. And so if I'm on the radio and these are my teammates, I'm probably, we're working together, but when it gets down to the last pit stop, I might not tell Courtney when I was pitting, and I might not tell him what I was doing. I might try to play a little gamesmanship there, but I'm not going to race my teammate, for the win unless we've got like 5 laps to go. And so because it benefits both of us to be able to run nose to tail like this, to establish that rhythm, click off these laps, and basically just disappear from the rest of the field.
Yeah, whenever I bring up that teammate dynamic of what drivers may or may not be doing behind the wheel of their race cars and whatever chats they may find themselves in here, side by side, the 74 trying to get a move done here. Not sure if that will get done heading off into turn number 1, and no, it will not. But talking about that team dynamic, there's always theories that us broadcasters like to share as what they may or may not be doing, what they may or may not be thinking. Remember, this was a lesson that I learned very early on in my broadcasting career. I'd been doing it for nearly a year at that point, but I was still trying to learn the ropes, shall we say. And I found myself in a situation while I was commentating these two teammates that were battling it out for a win in a GT3 race. And I was calling it thinking, oh man, we're finally going to see it, because one of the drivers dominated the entire time that series was broadcasted. I think he won 2 out of the 3 championships they ended up running. I think it ended up being all but 1 race that was ever broadcasted in the short history of that specific league. And I was thinking, oh, his teammate, who's always been the protege, he may be trying to battle with the master. And then after that broadcast was done, I took a look at their perspective, because they're live streaming it on Twitch. And they just said, hey, let's battle to give the broadcaster something to talk about. So I've always been a little bit tentative ever since that happened, basically walking around on eggshells when I do see 2 teammates start to squabble, as this squabble has not ended here. The 74 finally getting that move done there on the 6, heading off into the turn. Took quite a while for Alan Wanamaker to make up that move on Andy Thomas, but he finally got it done after a wait of what felt like 60,000 years for him.
Yeah, these two are both really good drivers. Both of these guys are good side-by-side racers, so they can actually hold it. But it's frustrating because you're faster. You just can't quite make that pass. But they got it done there. A couple of drivers that are on the move, both Watkins and Eric Essery. Essery's up to P6. Watkins right behind him at P7. Remember, Watkins had that little bit of trouble on his first pit stop. But both of these 2 drivers, these are 2 of the best, especially in terms of managing tires over the course of a long run. So it's a shame they're 7 seconds back on the rest of the field, but they are slowly and steadily marching back to the front.
And so marching our way through as we now try and tackle the second half of this race here tonight. 48 laps on the board of 85 here. MacArthur is still your race leader as we have a little bit of squabbling here. That's Shepard trying to make something work here on the inside. This could get dicey as they head their way off through turn number 2. A little bit of contact there on the exit. Jaegerman right up there in front. As a result of that slide, Shepard going to lose out on a spot. Side by side as they head their way down into turn number 3. So Shepard not going down without a fight. However, this could easily end in disaster. It's himself and Chris Bates in the number 81 machine there on the high side, looking for something there. Right behind is the number 11 of Tom Ogle. But that is going to be a spot gain for Bates, a spot loss for Shepard, and the bleeding may not stop here. As look at Liberace, that's his nickname here in the championship, trying to get the move done here into turn number 1. He had that run, he had a mighty amount of momentum, but it's oh so treacherous to try and go for the moves here in the south end.
Bates made a phenomenal pass holding the outside on through turn 1 and turn 2. And made the pass on the outside coming down the backstretch. That's a really, really good move right there.
Yeah, that was certainly a fantastic move there from Bates, trying everything in his power to get the move done here. We were talking about that outside line earlier on and wondering how long it was going to be until it was finally a viable strategy. We've certainly seen that bottom lane rubber up quite a lot. It's significantly darker now than it was earlier on, but that top side finally finding its groove in more ways than one.
I think that and the cooler racetrack and the clouds are helping get just enough grip to make that top side work. And if you can hold, especially if you're side by side, you're basically pinching off the exit of the car on the inside. So not only are you getting a good run, but you're keeping the car on the inside from getting the run off the corner that they need. But so with the weather conditions like they are right now, you can make that topside work. The other guy's making that topside work is Tom Ogle. He's, again, steadily moving through the field. He's been very patient this whole race, still getting it done. We've seen him just kind of march one at a time, being smooth and consistent the entire race.
Yeah, as I always say, smooth is fast. Touching on the point that he raised just a few moments ago, Brian, about the track temperatures, you're right. They have sunk down considerably as a result of the clouds that are currently hanging over this racetrack. 101 degrees Fahrenheit for the track temperature. That is down considerably from where we started this race. So entering a new phase of it here at the current moment as we try and run into the final 34 laps of this race as quickly as we can. The speed is finally catching up to some of these drivers. Just focusing on your leader at the moment of Dwayne MacArthur, was able to set one of his quickest laps of the race on lap 31 right at the start of this run here in this race. If anybody came into the pits right about now, I think they'd probably have a good shot of setting the fastest lap of the entire race.
Probably so. Depth track is definitely getting faster. You know, MacArthur started on the pole. He's pretty much led this entire race. I think he has led by the flag so far. That's tricky. Drivers, when they see Dwayne up front like that, staying up front, he's going to be hard to beat. But he and Courtney so far have been the class of the field, and they are still just running nose to tail, setting the pace, and putting about, a couple of tenths a lap on P3. McDaniel's a good 3.5 seconds back right now.
Side by side here, right towards the tail end of your pack right now is another low battle here. This is Ogle looking to get a move done here. A little bit of argy-bargy action as they headed their way through the turn. That's Medlin right up in front. This could get dicey as you can see Medlin trying to cover off the move, go for every single block that he can, heading down that back straight away. The 11 going to have to put a little bit of effort to try and get this move done there. They battle for some of the spots. Side by side up on the front, though. Nelson looking for it on MacArthur. Haven't seen these two battle through the entirety of this race. Maybe that time is now. Here comes the 3 of Courtney Nelson down the inside, having to check up a little bit. The 83 keeps them crowded. Sideways, slideways through the turn. Nelson once again holds on to it.
Wow, he was sideways that time. We've seen that's the second time. Looked like MacArthur held that outside and just kept a ton of momentum going. So just as we saw Bates do that a little bit earlier. So just file that away in your database. It looks like the outside might be the preferred line if you're going side-by-side racing. But man, what a save by Nelson. It looked like he just got dropped down a little bit too far on entry. And that's really easy to do here at Indy, and it is very unforgiving down there. If you drop onto that concrete, the car is going to get super loose, and I'm shocked that he saved it. That was a nice piece of driving right there. And we've got pit stops coming up here pretty soon. We're on lap 53, so I would expect us to see pit stops in about 5 laps or so. So these two are not waiting for this last round of pit stops. They're just going to start going at it right now.
Yeah, so now as we get into this point, the pit stop window is open. So we're going to see these drivers throw it down to pit lane here very, very soon. I think these drivers are going to try and sacrifice this middle stint as much as they can. Just have the best chance, best fighting chance as we get towards the end of a race that has run entirely caution-free through to this point. That's another point that we haven't really raised as much as MacArthur has had a stranglehold on this race. Clean Racing has as well. These drivers haven't been taking it easy by any means. They've been going side by side, but it takes 2 to tango. These drivers have been pulling an amazing dance so far.
This race had a green flag look to it. We have a little bit of a smaller field. We have 27 cars in the field. The times were spread out pretty. Looks like we had. Oh, Eric Esser's on pit road right now. That's notable right there. If I'm in the field and I hear the 37's pitting, I'm taking note because Eric's one of these guys who is excellent on tires. And he's pitting early right now to try to undercut the field to get some time out on new tires and maybe be able to insert himself into the equation as one of the front runners. That's a smart move right there. You have to do something. I mean, right now, this has a green flag look to it. It's almost impossible to make up track position. So one of the only ways you can do that right now is by pitting early and undercutting the field.
Oh, as you can see, big burnout there as he exits the pits there. The 37 of Vessery now down away in pit lane. But this is going to be some of these drivers' best friends or worst enemies here at the end of this race. It's pit lane It's the best spot to try and get a move done, but it's also an even better spot to lose out on a disturbing amount of time. I've seen so many races that have come down to pit stops right at the end where drivers thought they had a good chance, then they mess it up in the pit stop. We already saw a driver run into issues heading down pit lane earlier on, and whether it be the pit entry, whether it be speeding, whether it be the pit exits, whether it be just overshooting your marks a little bit, very easy to run into trouble here in the pit lane. As side by side once again, Nelson looking for it on MacArthur, tried to go for it into turn number 1 a little bit earlier on, looking for it now into turn number 3. Maybe that will be the lucky stroke for the 3, who's once again having to wheel it, trying to get this move done, sawing at the steering wheel there in that race car, looking for any way in the book to get past his teammate. Maybe this could be a good shot. The 83 gets it a little bit wiggly, heading out of turn number 4, onto the start-finish straightaway, side by side across the yard of bricks as more drivers come down pit lane behind. 83 looking for it. Nelson, he's tried to go for the moves earlier on in this race. It's had mid-corner speed that is really choking him up. Gets into the side of his teammates, has to back out once more.
You know, these two going side by side like that's 2 corners in a row where Nelson's had gotten a little bit loose or gotten tight, and they both have to check up a little bit. That's going to basically bring the field back to them a little bit. If I'm Courtney, I might hold off and wait till this last round of pit stops. I understand why he wants to get up front here because this is a good time to pass. You pass, make the pit stop, and basically be able to control the race that way. But right now, racing side by side like this and getting loose, they're losing time to the rest of the field.
Yeah, so as much as it is cool from our perspective here in the broadcast booth, it is not sustainable. And MacArthur knows that. He's come down pit lane, 28 laps now left to go here. So this is going to put him firmly in that window to make it to the end of this race, which is why the pit stops are so common throughout the pack. Matson coming into the pit, Shepard into pit lane as well, Ogle, Negus, Lynch, lots of drivers coming into the pits. However, trouble for Ogle. We're hearing a black flag coming at him as he headed his way through pit lane. That is going to be disastrous. Let's see how he picked it up. Could be speeding, probably is speeding, trying to well it up. Oh, Jackson, and that is not going to be enough.
He's trying to get everything you can. It's one of the only ways to make up track position, especially at this point in the race, is through the pit cycles. And so you have to be aggressive to try to get all you can, getting onto pit road, and sometimes you get bitten. So Nelson's coming in now. That's most of our leaders. I wonder if Watkins, I think, is still out.
Yeah, so Watkins trying to pull something out of this because we saw Watkins go long in that original run here in this race, both long in terms of the stint and long in the pit box, which is part of the reason why he's been up against the ropes here in the second stint. So Watkins trying to make something work right now, but our main focus is definitely on trying to see who's going to get the nose out. Courtney Nelson now stops in the pit stall. Up on the jacks, he's going to go. Dwayne MacArthur currently slotted in P6 on the road right now. Going to look to try and overtake his teammate through the pit stops. Heading as well in the start-finish straightaway right now is Dwayne MacArthur. Keeping our eye to see whether or not it could be it. Courtney Nelson exiting pit lane right now. This could be very, very tense, but it will not be enough for the 3. Dwayne MacArthur finds himself in the middle of a small little pocket of opportunity, and this could be it. Got to say, Greg McDaniel directly behind as well in that number 1 car. And McDaniel came down pit lane as well, so this has worked out fantastically for the 1.
Yeah, look who was also in front of Greg McDaniel, Eric Essery. Dwayne MacArthur, Eric Essery, right in front of him. So Eric pitted earlier, remember, and that two laps worth of undercut gave him the track position to go from P6 all the way up to he will be leading once this cycle of pit sequences. And that's dangerous. Eric is really, really good on tires, and right now, we've talked about this all season, clean air is what's really going to separate these top drivers. That was probably one of the reasons why we saw Courtney fighting so hard to get up front, is clean air and clean racetrack. That's one of the best ways to stay fast, one of the best ways to conserve tires. And so right now, especially with 25 laps to go, that's right where you want to be. So that was a really great call on the pit stop there for Eric.
Yeah, brilliant master stroke down pit lane. Works out in favor of the Iceman as he's going to look to try and keep it cool and collected as we get towards the end. as still awaiting some more drivers to break away and try and pull something off a little bit different here. MacArthur getting the move done, though, as he ended his way through turn number 3. That was critical.
No substitute for raw speed. And there's a reason why MacArthur started on the pole. He's by far the fastest car on the track, and that's exactly what we've seen here. Now, the other thing, Eric's contending with is he's got three more laps of tire wear on his tires than Dwayne does. So he's going to feel it, especially right here. But Dwayne is just proving again that he is the class of the field today.
Yeah, if there was a time to try and get the move done for Dwayne MacArthur, it was going to be then, and he had to get it done. He did get it done, and now Esri, one say he's in trouble, but in terms of a shot at victory, it may have just gone down the tubes. Currently feeling some pressure directly behind. That's Ogle trying to get a move done. Actually, that's Ogle trying to get past McDaniel as McDaniel tries to get the move done here on Esri. Ogle is a lap down as a result of that penalty. But that's a battle primarily for track position. Having a car between those two as they look to try and battle for what would be net P2 here in this race would definitely throw a wrench into the works. As a result of Wanamaker coming down pit lane with 25 laps left to go, it gives a race lead back to Dwayne MacArthur.
Yeah, and he's got control of the race now. Nelson's a good second and a half behind him. And so right now this is Dwayne's race to win if we stay green. A lot of these guys we're seeing, so these guys like MacArthur, Esri, McDaniel, Nelson, Walker, Watkins, this top 6, we talk about them every week. These are the guys that are the best at managing tires over the course of an entire run. So they're fast in the beginning. They can maintain their tire run through the middle of the run, and they always save enough to be there at the end. And so I kind of figured with this track in particular, Indy being so different, so hard on tires and such a high-speed track, this favors these 6 drivers.
So choosing their race results very wisely here at Indy, being able to put in the good performances at the track that matches them the best. This has been a good run for these drivers. It's been a smooth run so far here in this race. As not to say these drivers are taking it easy as we get towards the end. The 81 and the 01 side-by-side squabbles. They had their way through there. This is the fight for the final 2 spots inside the top 10. It's Bates and Strandberg currently trying to squabble up for this spot right now, as this is a race of great importance. We talked about as we go into the final few weeks of the regular season. After this, we're also going to have 2 weeks off in a row, so it is very key, much like this race here, to keep the momentum rocking and rolling. Just for the mental sake for these drivers, it's going to be important to have momentum heading off into that impromptu summer break.
Absolutely. You definitely want to enter that break on a high note. It's the worst feeling in the world to have a bad outcome or a poor race, and then you got to wait 2 more weeks before you get behind the wheel. So we've seen Bates protect that high side. It's interesting. He's one of the few guys who's just consistently stayed up there, and he's been protecting that high line through the whole race. He's making it work. He's able to maintain his momentum and able to chop the car on the inside down, and that's contributed to his success. But he's been consistently up there the whole race. That looks like Medlin's kind of taking that, going to school on that too. Got a battle shaping up here between the 09 and 77. Mattson had a good car early, and he's always fast. Both these drivers are fast. And man, that inside, you see him get loose coming off the exit right there. We've seen that the whole race. And it looks like the inside is just not working as well, especially off the corner. I think the combination of, Ron, you talked about it earlier, the cool racetrack and the fact that the top line is getting rubbered in, I think that top line, you're just able to keep the grip coming off the corner and just maintain that run down the straightaway.
Yeah, if you can rock and roll that momentum, it is going to be key to your success. That inside lane, it may be good, but you could very easily put a driver in a terrible situation down there on the bottom of the racetrack. Talked about this in reference to the drama that we had on the first lap, and we had drivers sliding through the infield grass, heading through turn number 1. There's very little room to run or hide here at Indianapolis, especially when things go awry. So if you get involved in a little bit of side-by-side battling, things can go very, very well for you and go very bad for your competitor just in the blink of an eye. We did see Courtney Nelson get a move done there for 3rd not too long ago, as the splits number 11 car that is 1 lap down at the moment. That is Ogle, currently as the mediator of these 3. Greg McDaniel currently running in fourth there in that number 1 car. The interesting note to raise about this race here, as we did see it just a few moments ago with that 09 of Matson, who, as you alluded to, started off this race, a very strong and very quick race car, but since then the pace has kind of bled away. There are not many cars throughout this field that have been consistently quick, that have had the exact same pace throughout. I would say the only cars are probably the 83 of MacArthur and his teammate, the 3 of Nelson.
Now, I think you're right. I think you probably put Essery in that group too. He's been able to stay up front. I think if Nelson can get by Essery here, I'm pretty sure Nelson's the faster car. And he showed us after that first run when he ran Dwayne down for 2 seconds. He might be the only car who can challenge Dwayne for the win. But Essery's not going to make it easy for him because he knows that's going to be the key to him finishing P2 is keeping Courtney behind him, because if Courtney passes him, he's not going to see him again.
And side by side as we head our way through turn number 2, this is getting really froggy here between Essery and Nelson. Nelson not able to get that move done. Shades of what happened in the side by side battling between Nelson and MacArthur earlier on here. Gotta wonder if that 3 has anything to say, not just about Essery getting this move done for second, but maybe closing up that 1 second gap. A little bit over that, in fact, 1.25 second margin to the back of the number 83. I think if there's anybody that could challenge Dwayne MacArthur, it is Courtney Nelson. Really been the case throughout the race. I still think that will ring true with about 18 laps left to go here at Indianapolis. 18 laps left to go at Indy. That is not a short period of time by any means here as well. These drivers still have about 45 miles left to go.
Yeah, it's a lot of racing left, and man, we see Courtney just working that inside. I'm wondering if we've seen cars that are on the inside. The inside's working great if you're not side by side for single file. I'm wondering what the aero effect is of having a car on your outside, because it looks like a lot of these cars that are trying to pass on the inside just can't hold traction in the middle of the corner, and they're either washing up on exit or they're getting loose, kind of like we're seeing Courtney do right there. That's a great look. So he's able to hold right there, because now that was a perfect exit. You saw him get right down to the concrete, but not on it. That's the only way you can maintain and really get the hammer down and drive it up off the corner like that. And so if he can keep doing that bottom line will work. But if he just gets a little bit to the left on that concrete, it's going to get insta loose, and it becomes really hard to handle. It's a great battle right here.
Oh, as these drivers are playing with fire at the moment. It's great from our perspective in the booth, but definitely sketchy for these drivers behind the wheel. The 3 of Nelson trying to get into it. But I gotta say, here at the moment, Nelson finds himself in the midst of a sandwich. He's got Essery in the 37 car, and then McDaniel there in the 1. This is not a great spot for the 3, is it?
It's not, and he's frustrated right now because he's faster than Essery is, but Essery's not going to let him by. Right? He's going to make that rear bumper as wide as he possibly can, and every time Courtney misses that run, like we're just seeing right here, he came up a little bit short on the inside. Greg McDaniel's going to start pushing him, and McDaniel's probably going to get better as this run goes on. And so you've got two things going on right here. Number one, Courtney can't keep his momentum up, and he's not able to lay down consistent lap times, but he's also using up a lot of tire racing these guys.
As here we go, looking to try and get the move done here. This is the 20 of Watkins. He's been able to stick his nose into this battle. We didn't think we were going to talk about him too much here at the end of this race, but he's making his voice heard here in that number 20 machine. This could be a mighty drive, mighty comeback here as we get towards the end. We still have time left to go. There's a lot of time left in the back pocket there for the number 20 machine as he tries to get some of the moves done here right now. That could be very tantalizing of a prospect. If he can get some moves done here, Matt Watkins may be in the consideration for one of the best comeback drives we have seen so far.
Meanwhile, these three seems like these four drivers have been racing each other pretty much the whole race. We've seen Bates on the outside, side by side with someone, pretty much the entire race. And again, we see him making it work right there. So if I'm a driver, if I'm Strandberg, I'm trying to get to Bates' outside somehow. And you can see Bates; he is not going to let anybody on that outside. He's going through the middle corner right there. Watkins making a move on Nelson right there. Oh no! That's trouble. That's a big wreck right there. We've seen That's a caution. That's going to bring out a caution right there.
Was going so well for so long and then went so badly so quickly. We're going to load up a replay to show you exactly what went down as we headed our way down the backstretch into the turn. Oh,
Like
bad
Nelson,
misjudgment there from the 3.
I think he may have gotten loose or gotten into the wall. He looks like he was getting loose going into the corner. Or Media was trying to make a really aggressive crossover move on Watkins. But either way, it looked like he just lost it a little bit as he was entering. And once you lose control, especially on entry, it's impossible to catch it. That's a tough break for Nelson. That's the second week in a row we've had Nelson get into a wreck late. That's got to be heartbreaking for him. Now, meanwhile, this is going to change everything. We've got 13 laps to go. Everybody's going to come in. Everybody's going to get tires. And this is very similar to the outcome that we had last week, Ron. This is one of my favorite things to do. You know, we don't get to go all out and not think about tires, not think about fuel very often in the OBRL because we get these long green runs. And so we get a chance for a sprint finish. Oh, these drivers are salivating right now.
It's going to be a tantalizing prospect for some, a concerning prospect for others. As I will say, Matt Watkins, he got away from that incident with probably the most amount of damage done to that race car were a couple of paint chips taken away from that back bumper and a seat in that race car that's in desperate need of dry cleaning right now. He's going to find himself in third as the field comes down to pit lane. This could get dicey. This could get tense. We talk about that pit entry being bad enough in the green flag pit stop cycle. When we come down pit lane here under yellow, could see a stack up. Thankfully, these drivers all playing ball. But that was a very bizarre incident that put us under yellow. I think it was Nelson just trying to go for the cutback there. I know the wall's a little bit janky as he edges his way down to turn number 3, but unfortunately there, just going to take himself out of the running. It could have been a podium. Instead, it's going to be nothing as we see the drivers finally hit their marks on pit lane. MacArthur going to hope to be the first away, but keep an eye on Essery. I think he may have taken 2 tires there.
McDaniel took 2 as well. That's really smart. I would have thought I would have done the same thing. Track position is so important here. Looks like they were the only 2 that took 2 tires. Now we got a lot of race left. We're going to go green here with about 10 laps to go. That's a long time here at Indy, but we hadn't had too many laps on the tires altogether. So if you're running, P3, P4, and you don't have the speed that MacArthur has shown, both Essery and McDaniel, that's a really smart move and might just help them win the race right here.
We're hearing as well that Jaegerman also made that call to take 2 tires there. So he's shuffled up to 4th. MacArthur is in P3. Now, for those 2 drivers of Essery and McDaniel that took 2, the one thing that I could say as a sort of like the point counterpoint here would probably be the fact that the number 83 car of MacArthur hasn't been buried enough. He hasn't been buried a lot here. He's going to be restarting in 3rd after all. He'll be on the 2nd row. So it's not like he's been sent off into oblivion. He's still going to be right there. And based off the pace that we've seen from that number 83 car, I'd certainly like the call from those 2 drivers to, take 2, do something a little bit different. I wonder whether or not they will be able to hold off that number 83 as we get to the end.
If I'm Dwayne, though, Dwayne's clearly been the fastest car the whole race. He's not going to lose that much track position starting 3rd with 4 tires. He's probably got himself in a really good position because his tires are better and he's faster. So the key for Dwayne is going to be to pass quickly. Get past his guys as quick as he can and start putting distance on them. And that's going to be his key to victory. If McDaniel and Essery wind up going side by side and going at it, and Dwayne winds up back in the mix, it's anybody's race at that point. I think Watkins also took 4 tires. He's another guy. He's made his way back. Made his way back from that mistake, that first mistake on pit road. But he's another guy with 4 tires and this much time left. He's another guy that we want to watch for here.
And one point that I do want to raise there about the 20 of Watkins, I think the tire call that he had to do there was just get some, non-angry tires on that car after that sideways, slideways moment he had through turn number 3 as a result of that incident there with Nelson. There's no way that he would have been able to get away with 2 because I think those tires were quite upset as a result of that there. But we've got the field packed up, about to get a restart here. Going to be about 10 laps of racing action left here in Indianapolis, 25 miles to try and sort things out. It was a long green flag run that we had rolling here in this event that got broken up in the blink of an eye and has more or less reset the situation here in this race. Here is the situation right now. Eric Ester in that 37, Greg McDaniel in the 1. They took 2 tires. They could be sitting ducks. They could be geniuses. Dwayne MacArthur, he's been the dominant driver throughout this race, has had the quickest car, but this will be the farthest back in the field that he has been for a start as we grab the green flag. First restart of the night, and it comes about 11 laps away from the fall of the checkered flag. Essery and McDaniel gonna chase each other's tails heading down to turn number 1. McDaniel, though, chasing it a little bit too hard there, chases himself up off the track as he ended his way through the turn, and now look at MacArthur trying to get this move done. It may not be for the race lead. He still has one more car to go, but if MacArthur can clear, which it looks like he will, that is going to be big for this race, as here comes Matt Watkins looking to get the move done as well.
Yeah, they're both going to. That was the time he needed to do it. Got it before the first lap is even finished. And it looks like McDaniel is going to hold Watkins off here, making that outside work like we've seen it the whole race. But MacArthur got past, and let's see if he can start putting some time on McDaniel and go run Essery down. Essery was only about a half second back, and he's got his left side tires are not as good as Wayne, so I would expect Wayne to be able to close that gap. However, Eric is one of those drivers who, when he has clean racetrack and clean air, he tends to drive a little bit faster and check out on the field.
Oh, big wall contact there heading out of turn number 1. And right there, in trouble. That's the 09. Multiple drivers stacking up as they head their way through the turn. Big one taking place here at Indy as the 12 nearly gets sent over. A German suplex attempted as they headed their way through 2.
Andy Thomas caught in that. Patrick Martindale's caught in that. That's an unfortunate accident. Looks like the 12 got a little bit tight on entry right there and just shipped it right into the 09.
Yeah, and if it was just those 2 involved, it wouldn't have been too terrible. Then the 01, really nothing that he could have done. He stacks up, gets the 12 up in the air initially. The 69 gets turned. I believe that was the 81 involved in that. Here comes the 28. Those 2 cars merge within one another. 28 clips the 6. The 93 pile drives in, nearly sends the 12 car upside down as they had their way through turn number 2. Talked about this track being one that has very little room where you can run or hide in case stuff just so happens to hit the fan. That proves it right there.
Yeah, there's not a lot of time either. Everybody's pushing really hard because it's the end of the race too. So a lot of these cars, like Shepard almost made it through. Crisco almost made it through. Did Wanamaker scoot through? No, he made it through. Did he's going to stay clean? Stay clean. Outstanding driving right there. Look at that. That's the move of the race right there.
Yeah, that is incredible from Wanamaker, the driver that stood out to us a bit earlier on in this broadcast, having stayed out later than everybody, ends up working out very, very well for him. So that is going to keep him in the running here in this race, as many drivers having to tow back to pit lane to try and repair their cars. So now we reset things once more, and we do so less than 10 laps away from the fall of the checkered flag, with a very different situation than we had on that last restart here, Brian. Now Dwayne MacArthur is going to be restarting in second. This changes things quite a lot. This has got to be a dream restart here from Eric Essery.
It does, and it's if I'm Dwayne, I'm sending it into turn 1 because he hold me outside. I've got better tires than Essery does, and I want to get the pass done as soon as I can. If Essery gets any kind of track position, is able to put any kind of time on Dwayne, it's going to get a lot harder to pass. He's in the right. Dwayne's in the right place, but he's going to have to get this done soon.
Yeah, so he's going to have to be efficient on this restart. That is the key. Efficiency is going to make a world of difference. If he can get that move done early, he'll be good. If the 37 of Essery gets a dream restart, which I will say one quick little thing about the way that iRacing rolls with oval restarts. The leader has a very big, almost cartoonishly big advantage. So YesterYear will have the upper hand, but if MacArthur can time it decently, that is going to be bad news for that number 37.
Yeah, I would say if they can get off side by side. I mean, if Eric kind of opens up any kind of a gap as they're drag racing down the front stretch, it'll be a little more troublesome for MacArthur to get around. But I think if they can get off their restart side by side, MacArthur's going to be pretty confident going into turn one. You got McDaniel's back there too. Is another guy, and Watkins are other two drivers that you have to consider. Both of these guys are veterans. Watkins has proven time and time again that he's capable of winning races. They are both on 4 tires also. Jaegerman's on 2. And so if I'm Eric, I'm a little bit concerned because I'm the only guy out here on 2 tires and feeling kind of alone out here.
And so with time running out here in this race, still waiting to see the lights turn off on that iRacing pace car. So with time slowly but surely ticking down, as much there's no real good situation to be in restarting next to the dominant driver of this race who has a tire advantage while you're on only 2 tires and trying to make things work there in a car that has been strong, but maybe not nearly as strong as a car on the outside of you. You got to take the small wins. I think there will be a small win to take here. The fact that time is slowly but surely running out here in this race. If there's one more yellow, we're probably going to put ourselves in green-white checker territory.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure you'd like to see a lot more caution laps in this one. So he's not at all concerned right now, and he would certainly like to see this another incident perhaps, and anything he can to maintain that track position. But I wouldn't be surprised to see us finish out here. 2 cautions in a row like this, most of these drivers are pretty well set and not wanting to cause a third wreck here.
And so let's see how things go. Certainly the tension is going to be high as we get towards the end of this race. And again, folks, there's a 2-week break after this. So these drivers gonna try and hit this race as well as they can, get a good result here. They can get into that break with as good momentum as they can as we approach the final few races here of the regular season. So with 1 restart and 1 big one taken away from us, we now head to restart number 2. And we're going to be doing so with just about a single handful of laps left to go. Here is the situation. Eric YesterYear will be leading us back to green in that number 37 car, and a dream restart is one that he's got to have. MacArthur has been dominant throughout that race. The pace has been strong, the speed has been strong, and the confidence has been even stronger. MacArthur going to have to try and nail this restart. Doesn't need to get off to a dream one, just needs to keep that number 37 car right there within an arm's reach. With 2 drivers right behind, both on 2 tires, they could play a factor in this battle as well as we get back to green flag racing, and YesterYear does not get off to the restart that he wanted at all. MacArthur holding on to that outside line, trying to make something work here on the high side as they head their way through turn number 1, crowding him down there on the bottom, and Dwayne MacArthur grabs the race lead with 6 to go here in Indy.
And now he just wants the race to go green because I don't think anybody's going to be able to catch him from here.
Absolutely not. He just needs to grab that torch and run off into the sunset with it. YesterYear, though, looking to hold on to second for dear life. He has got a hungry pack of sharks circling him at the current moment. It's Watkins in the number 20 car looking to complete a brilliant comeback after some troubles a bit earlier on in this race. That 20's looking to come back in a big, strong way here and end this race on a high. The one of Greg McDaniel. He's been up and down the field like Otis Elevator so far here in this race. Wants to end on a high instead of a low. And you've got the 2 of Walker right there as well. 5 cars covered by about a second with 5 laps left to go here at Indy.
Walker's, where did he come from, man? Walker's a veteran driver, and he is probably one of the best at conserving tires. So to see him in the top 5 at the end of the race is not surprising, but we haven't talked about him the entire race until the very end.
And so some good drives going a little bit under the radar in what has been a very entertaining evening here for the OBRL. And folks, if you want to stay tuned for the rest of the season action, you can here on the Virtual Grip Network. We have Tom Ogle hanging on to the limit of grip as he headed his way through turn number 3 and 4, trying to get that move done. Nearly ended in tears as it is still very wiggly throughout this pack. Drivers trying to get some moves done. 4 laps left to go, 10 miles left here in Indianapolis. It's qualifying distance here, and side-by-side battling continuing off once again down into turn number 1. Ogle, who started this race all the way at the back of the pack, currently won while trying to fight back. After going 1 lap down, he finds himself at a lucky spot P13, looking for a little more.
What a battle. What a battle all the way through the field. These guys are going all at it. This is the most fun you can have when you're racing, when you don't have to worry about tires, you don't have to worry about gas. The race is almost over and you can just get after it. And that's what every one of these drivers is doing right now.
And these drivers are putting it on the edge right now, and you love to see it. Side by side, this is 74 of Wanamaker, looking for a little bit more on Garisco. They're side by side, heading their way down the start-finish straightaway. 3 laps left to go here at Indy, and we may see a little bit 3 wide as they head their way across the yard of bricks. That could have ended in tears if the drivers tried to go for it. They're brave. They're not that brave. I know that for sure. The 74 going to dive it off into turn number 1, clear him. That's going to stack up the field right behind. Look at Ogle trying to make something work there. You're at 1 point championship points leader, trying to look for something here at the end. Contact made to the back of Garisco. Going to cause him to get sideways and wiggly as they head their way onto the back straightaway. This could end in tears. These drivers are playing with fire right now. Ogle clears as they head their way into turn number 3 for one of the last times here in this race, as they are still side by side right behind.
I mean, we are bound and determined to see 3 wide. I don't think you can do 3 wide all the way through the corner to Indy, but I would not. Looks like these drivers are going to try it at some point. Just outstanding racing all the way through the field. You see, these guys are right on the edge. This is all out racing right now to the finish.
All out, balls to the wall, shake and bake, do it for Dale. That's what we've got going on at the moment. 2 laps left to go, 5 miles here at Indy, and side by side, a little bit of a sideways wiggle down there on the bottom. This could end in tears here for the 73 as he looks to try and do something, anything, to hold on to this spot. Things get dicey throughout the pack towards Child, trying to cling onto that car for dear life, as here comes a 3 wide racing. We were thinking it was going to happen soon, and it happens now down the backstretch. And what a move there, heading off through there and nearly dents in tears. So Bill Martin tried to lick the stamp and send it off into turn number 1. Turn number 3, pardon me, unfortunately, in the process of trying to lick the stamp and send it, he gave himself a paper cut. Gonna be unfortunate there for the 18. The white flag is in the air. 1 more lap of racing action and smoke in the air farther in the back as they nearly wrecked, heading their way out of turn number 4. Dwayne MacArthur on track for a victory. Eric Essery trying to cling on for second with 0.3 of a second. The margin between he and the number 20 of Watkins. This could get very dicey as we get towards the end. If Watkins gets a good run heading onto this back straightaway, we could see those drivers battle yet more. There you can see Essery trying to break the draft, holding on to that P2 spot for now. I think he may have just withstood one of the hardest challenges here from Watkins. It's still not over yet. 0.4 of a second the margin, though, between your top 2. MacArthur hasn't pulled away like he would have had in mind, having 4 fresh tires on that number 83 machine, but in a race that has been dominated by him. He did everything he needed to do in this final green flag run, and Dwayne MacArthur going to come across a stripe to win it here at Indy.
Wow, what a race. What a complete end-to-end, from qualifying to checkered flag, dominating race by Dwayne MacArthur. That's the Dwayne MacArthur of old right there.
And what a finish here as well. Eric Essery comes across the stripe in P2. Want to give some love and flowers to that number 37 car. He was able to keep MacArthur honest. Wasn't going side by side with him. You can't really expect that with the driver who had taken 2 tires, but he was still definitely running that number 83 car all the way through to the fall of the checkered flag. Some props where props are definitely due there. Had that restart gone a little bit better in the favor of Essery, who knows how things would have shaken out here in this race. But it's the 83 of Dwayne MacArthur winning this race. Was 4th quickest in practice, grabbed the pole, led most of the race, and wins it here as well. But that's not to say it was easy, because it was far from easy here for the Canadian.
Oh, definitely, man. He was getting battles from his teammates, getting battles from Eric Essery and Matt Watkins. And big shout out to Essery, starting P17, working his way up to the front. That two-tire call was so smart. Even if he didn't have anything for Dwayne, that was the way that he could basically have the best finish possible. And just a great race all around, and a fantastic win by number 83.
Well, he may be dead to some people in Indianapolis. In fact, he burnt it out over the bricks, but you gotta imagine he is elated with that. A big sigh of relief and a whole lot of momentum as we head our way into the end of this regular season. Of course, a 2-week break after this race here for the summer, but then we have got some other big tracks coming up before we round off the regular season and look ahead into the chase. We've got Michigan on August the 16th. We've got Auto Club on August the 30th. Two very similar tracks to one another, built almost to exact same specifications, but ones that are quick as well, ones that can be a little bit harder on the tires. Sounds a little bit similar in a way to Indy.
It does, and looking forward to those, getting on those big tracks, and looking forward to the break.
Yeah, it is going to be a hoot as we get towards the end of the regular season. But folks, we're going to take a step aside here on the Virtual Grip Network, catch up with some of these drivers, and take a look at your race results on the other side. You're watching the OBRL YesterYear Cup Series here on the Virtual Grip Network. It's Dwayne MacArthur grabbing the victory here at Indy. We'll be right back after this. And welcome in, folks, to post-race coverage here on the Virtual Grip Network for race number 21 of the OBRL YesterYear Cup Series. And what a race it was here at Indianapolis. Dwayne MacArthur, though, was able to grab the victory when it was all said and done. Had to fight back, crawl back from some interesting shenanigans towards the end of the race. Driver's going for some two tires. He had to fight for it, and fight for it he did. He grabs the victory. Eric Essery chasing him all the way through to the end. It was 0.376 of a second between those drivers at the very end. Matt Watkins in the number 20 car will ran at your podium there in third. From there, it's Greg McDaniel classed in fourth. Clay Walker in the number 2 machine will come across the stripe in P5 with Jack Yeagerman in 6th. Roger Hurley will come across the stripe in 7th there in the number 77 car, exactly where he started in this race. Chris Bates will finish in 8th. Tom Ogle, got to say, a brilliant drive from the driver of the number 11 car. Qualified towards the back, was sent to the back of the pack at the start of the race, and then was able to crawl his way through even after a pit lane penalty, was able to bounce back to 9th. What a drive from that driver of the number 11 machine. Completing our top 10 here tonight was a Canadian of Scott Negus.
And finishing 11th, we saw him Tokyo drift his way through that last caution. The 74-valve Wanamaker finishing 12th with 28th of Robert Crisco. The 73 putting together a strong run, finishing 13th. Andy Thomas finishing 14th, 15th to 9 of Brian Lynch, 16th to 26th of Tommy Macy, 17th to 18 of Bill Martin, 18th to 79 of Juan Corey, 19th the 01 of Kevin Strandberg, and finishing P20 to 69 of Ben Shepard.
And the final few drivers classified here in this race. Patrick Marndale, last of the cars on the lead lap. Sean Foltz and Rick Nitz both 1 lap down. Then we get into the drivers that had issues throughout this race. The 12 of Andrew Medlin got sent up almost into low Earth orbit through an incident heading through turn number 2, right towards the end of the race. He is classed down there in 24th. Dave Matson was involved in that same incident there as well, was unable to rejoin. He ends up in 25th. Courtney Nelson, late race incident that sent us off into yellow for the first time here tonight. Unfortunate, had some strong pace, but just wasn't meant to be in the 3 car. Ends up in 26th with Ken Allen and Larry Corey running at 28 cars classified. Corey not taking the start there, ends up back of the pack there in 28th. But we can now have the chat with some of these drivers. I want to start by having a chat with the race winner of Dwayne MacArthur joining us here in the broadcast booth. Dwayne, welcome in. Congratulations on the victory. We talked about you having a dominant car, and certainly that number 83 car looked to be on rails throughout this race here at Indy, but especially late, you really had to work for that one, didn't you?
Yeah, I really did. Those cautions changed it dramatically. That's for sure.
Yeah, certainly a wild one here at Indianapolis. I want to ask you about the nerves as we got towards the end, especially with some of those restarts. The 2 drivers up in front of you on 2 tires late. Had to be a bit nerve-wracking there behind the wheel of the number 83 machine.
Yeah, I was a little nervous. Having the inside on that restart with the front row both having 2 tires. I think my only saving grace was the guy, the 27 beside me. He had 2 tires as well, but realistically, I was just worried about getting to the front before anybody else with 4, and starting on the inside. It wasn't great. The second restart, when I was outside of Eric, it felt a little more comfortable. I figured I could probably send it in there and get at least some clean air.
So it worked out well for you here in this race, and it couldn't come at a better time, getting towards the end of the regular season, have a 2-week break in store for us. So a lot of momentum heading into the final few weeks of this regular season.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Last week, a couple weeks ago, I was probably looking forward to the break more than now. It's been a long season to kind of try to find my legs. I know I got the point lead last week back, and then to finally get on the board here with a win. Maybe I'm not so happy about the break. Haven't maybe found a little bit of a groove, but it's been a long season. It's been an interesting one, but it's still been a lot of fun. And see what we can do when we come back from break.
Yeah, certainly looking forward to seeing what you may be able to do there in that number 83 car in 2 weeks' time when the series rocks up to Watkins Glen. But Dwayne, before we let you go and celebrate this race win, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs.
Yeah, first and foremost, so thank all my teammates there at Last Ditch Racing. I know Courtney didn't have a good end to his race, but I saw Greg and Clay and Chris go out there all day. And looks like they had a good time. We bounced some ideas off each other in practice. It's nice to have friends out there. And then a big shout out to all the admins. Keep running this league. Keep showing up and making sure everything's running smooth. I think our fearless leader is coming back next week or fairly soon. And then a big shout out to everybody in this league. It's the only place I race on iRacing. I refuse to race anywhere else. It's the best league there is and the best place to hang out and have a good time. So big thanks to everybody. And big thanks to Rockstar. I finally put them in victory lane on a Sunday. I'm sure they're happy. And thanks to you guys for putting on a good show. I love going back to listen to this later. So,
hey, well, Dwayne, thank you for joining us here in the broadcast booth. Well done on the race win, and we'll see you out there on track in about 2 weeks' time when the series rocks up to Watkins Glen.
yeah, sounds great. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you very much. That right there was Dwayne MacArthur, our race winner here tonight. Brian, I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat with our second place man.
Eric Esser, you got a copy, sir?
I got you, man.
Man, I sure am glad to be talking to you tonight. I saw you starting pretty deep in the field, but that first part of the race, we talked about in the booth how you had to be really methodical and be consistent, and you accomplished that. So walk us through that first half. What was it like kind of getting through the field, managing the track?
Yeah, I don't know what happened qualifying. I thought I put a pretty good lap in. In practice, I never practice a hot lap. I just try to think of how the run's going to go, so I'm never worried about qualifying, then just do the best I can. But yeah, I was way out left field there in qualifying, and then on the start, just some holes opened up. I kind of really got lucky. I think Andrew Medley got turned sideways, and I think Sean Foltz took a penalty on himself, and just little things like that where it just worked out. And then I came out in a gap and was able to maintain a clean air, even though it was, running 8th or 10th somewhere through there. So it kind of worked out that way, and then that kind of got the ball rolling on the rest of the race.
Yeah, then you get to that second pit stop, and you were the first one to pit on that second round of stops. So you pitted about 3 laps earlier than everybody else, which cycled you through to the lead after the pit sequence finished. So walk us through that part.
Yeah, that's the goal, is just pit early as you possibly can. And I thought that's what everybody was kind of doing. That's what we did on the first stop. But I was surprised I came out where I did, and then Dwayne just happened to be on brand new tires, come out of the pit right behind me, so he was able to get by. But I think if I held him off another lap, I would have been a great spot. And then looked like Courtney there. I know I was holding him up. I even told him on the radio, I was like, "Man, I'm sorry, I'm holding you up, but that's just the name of this game on strategy. You just gotta maintain what you got." So yeah, that's just where it worked out. And then on the last stop, just went in and took 2, hoping 2 or 3 other guys. I think Greg might have been the only one. That's kind of what messed me up. And then if we went green after the first restart, might have been able to hold off Dwayne, but then we got that other caution. I knew I was in trouble there, so all he needed was one good corner, and he got me.
Yeah, that second restart with Dwayne having clean air on the outside, that pretty much sets your fate. But you still managed to turn that into a P2 finish, and that last, both the short pitting on that first sequence and taking 2 on that last stop, that's what got you on top of the podium. So that was maybe not your preferred outcome of a win, but in terms of strategy working out and making the right moves, I'd say you put one together tonight.
Yeah, it's not my most fun type of racing, but it is fun to have one of these type races every now and then where you can throw a little strategy instead of just getting 4 tires every time or whatnot. And then if you do get tired, or if you stay out, you're going to get penalized for it. But some of these flat tracks, they've come a long way with the way the tire models and the way they are, and so you just got to work with that and do the best you can. And figured everybody else kind of knew that, but we went long enough. I think they just wanted the 4 tires on.
Well, you're one of those drivers who knows how to take advantage of those things. So again, great finish tonight, Eric, and tell us who you want to thank.
Of course, my Lord Jesus Christ, for being my Savior. Want to thank my mom and dad watching, family, whoever's watching. I know I got in-laws and brother and nephews and nieces and that sort of thing, and so they get upset when I don't shout them out, but I am this time. So there you go. You guys doing a great job in the booth. Got best booth we got anywhere. And of course, all the admins doing their thing. All the sponsors, we know the sponsors, but they keep this thing going. So that's great. And of course, my beautiful wife who's cheering me on.
Right on, bud. Going into the break. Have a good couple of weeks, and we'll see you on track next time.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
And that right there was our P2 finisher, Eric Essery, joining us here on the broadcast booth. Let's round things off by having a chat with our third place man, Matt Watkins, joining us here in the booth. Matt, welcome in. It was a wild race for you there in that number 20 machine, trying a little bit of a different strategy early, having a moment down pit lane that cost you, but able to claw your way back out of the cellar to finish P3 at the end of this race. How was it out there?
Yeah, what too bad. First run we tried to run long. Really playing the end game of trying to take less fuel in the last stop to have a much quicker stop and maybe jump a few cars, but just didn't realize how tough it would be to pass. I knew it was going to be tough to pass, didn't realize how tough it was going to be, because even like 4-lap fresher tires, like I would run down someone, it would just be so unbelievably hard to pass there. So it was definitely had to work through a lot of stuff, but hey, somehow got third, so I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, it works out well for you here in this race, getting P3 when it's all said and done. We've talked a lot throughout this broadcast about momentum, both the momentum that was important to try and get a good run there in this race, and momentum as we head our way off into the 2-week break. How do you feel about your chances as we get towards the end of the regular season?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. There's a couple tracks we just kind of got to get through and survive, and then the rest of them are pretty good. So overall, yeah, I do feel pretty good. And we got, I think, 4 races left until we start the chase. So be nice if maybe get one more win, get some couple bonus points. But really just trying to work on consistency. Like tonight wasn't going to probably win the race unless something very magical happens. So was just trying to be consistent as possible and get a good finish. So so this has been the goal, work on consistency for sure.
Yeah, remaining consistent and getting some good results, and got a good one here, P3, when it's all said and done here. But Matt, before we let you go and celebrate this podium run, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs.
Just the same stuff. Just really appreciative of the league and all the sponsors that sponsor the league. So I'm really appreciative. And you guys, once again, showing up each week, putting on these broadcasts. They're fun to watch and fun to be a part of. So look forward to keeping that going.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, Matt, thank you for joining us here in the broadcast booth. Well done on the P3, and we'll see you out there on the racetrack in a couple of weeks' time when the series rocks up to Watkins Glen.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
That is going to be very fitting for him next time out there. Matt Watkins heading off to Watkins Glen. But, Brian, that'll be the next race of the season. It's been a fun ride to be here in the broadcast booth over the past 3 weeks. Jeremy Scott, depending on how his schedule works, because his schedule is about as up in the air as a hot air balloon. I believe he'll be back in the broadcast booth here in a few weeks' time. It's been a treat here over the past 3 weeks. But it's going to be fun as we head off into the final few races of this regular season. Final thoughts before we wrap things up.
What a banger to end the break on, man. This is one of the better races of the season. We saw a little bit of everything, and I think Dwayne said it best. We may have been looking forward to the break before, but we sure wish we'd get back behind the wheel right now after a race like tonight. So look forward to seeing you guys in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole lot of fun. And of course, folks, we have a whole lot of action between then and now here on VGN. In fact, tomorrow we'll be able to bring you the latest round of the Red Light Racing Scrambler Series. First time the NASCAR Truck Series is going to be running there. That'll be on Monday, July the 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. ISRA will be on later on that night. Over on the other side, that'll be the old Lotus F1 cars at Road America. Myrtle Beach will play host to the rounds of the late model series. The Friday night Bush Talk Radio Super Late Model Series will be on Friday at 9:30 with the BRL running their late model championship there one night afterwards at 9:15 this upcoming Saturday. Never miss out on any of the racing action here on the Virtual Grip Network by hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell. Our thanks to all the drivers and everybody responsible making this series possible, as well as the sponsors, YesterYear Racing, Top Flight Computers, Zero Shoes, and Kailu Glass. And thank you to all of you tuning into the action here on the Virtual Grip Network. But as for this broadcast here tonight, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Mullins, Brian McRae joining me in the commentary booth, and Ryan Seneca working on the cameras and the graphics in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on VGN tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.